All right. Good morning. Good afternoon. Hello, everybody. My name is Don Caruso. We have a very special guest today. Welcome to the fourth edition of our trading card webinar series. And today, we're really happy to have Catherine Harrison, CEO of Magpie, to go through and talk about a little bit about the hobby. We're going to talk a little bit about her product line and some of her customers. But Catherine, thank you and welcome for coming. Welcome to come.
Thank you so much, Don. I'm so excited to be here. What a great way to kick off the year. I'm super excited to talk about all of our common customers, the problems that we're solving, and what we're seeing for 2024. So thanks so much for making some time for me.
Great. Yeah, Catherine and I have known each other for almost 2 years, I would say now. We see each other quite often at all. We seem to do all the trade show events together, so it's always, hey, how's it going? Type of thing. But today's webinar, for everybody that's showing up on the attendee list, just wanted to let everyone know we are recording this. So in the next couple days, we'll be able to put this video version on our website platforms and share that with everybody who's signed up as an attendee as well. And at the end of this conversation, we will be taking questions. So there's a little question and answer area within the platform. Feel free to start asking questions, and hopefully we have enough time to go through as many of them as we can at the end of the session. So Catherine, it's been a while. I think we last saw each other at the National. I'm thinking it might have been. I know that we were running around, meeting a lot of customers, but I don't know. After that, maybe it might have been Burbank. The Anaheim show at Burbank. I know I saw you there as well. So, what's new with Magpie since we last met?
Well, it's been a really incredible year. I think for the hobby in general,
Hmm.
obviously for Magpie as well, but with Fanatics starting to come in hard with everything that they launched at the National, with the growth of live shopping, with platforms like Whatnot and Fanatics Live, I just think that there's so much innovation that's happening, not just in sports cards, although certainly in sports cards, but across the trading card and collectible ecosystem. The
Yeah.
ring card obviously provided a lot of excitement and entertainment, and there have been some
Hmm.
amazing Pokemon and Marvel releases in the last 6 months. So, I have just been enjoying being in the hobby so much. I think we see this incredible focus on innovation, first and foremost in customer experience for the collector. I mean, I love the ads that we're starting to see
Yeah.
from Fanatics that are on TV. Like, it's amazing. And I think there's a real focus on, making and updating the experience of collecting for the 21st century. So I think that's super cool. And I think that that has a lot of implications for everyone from collectors through to the manufacturers. I think, on the collector side, there's tons of new apps and experiences to get excited about. I think that there's a real focus on data so that we really understand what's happening with different cards and tying them actually to the sports, to the players, to the moments in history, to the games, to the things that we all love. Um, I love some of the innovation in product that we're seeing. I think um, Fanatics' work with the debut patches for MLB is just
Yeah.
so cool.
Pretty unique.
Personally, isn't it? I mean, I just love connecting like that moment, when a player has their debut game to a card that you can then hold. I just feel like
Hmm.
that imbues it with so much more value and excitement. So, um, and I think we're seeing some innovation in shows. I just think there's a lot of exciting things that are happening, and Magpie's really excited to be part of all of it. But
Yeah.
what about you?
Yeah.
You
We're
talk to
all.
dealers. collectors? What are your thoughts? What are you
Well, yeah,
seeing?
both of our companies are dead smack in the middle of innovation and technology and everything you just talked about. The hobby's alive, and this is an exciting time to be in it. And all of the shows and all the events that you go to is definitely a reflection of that. We went to the National, and it's the largest national ever made. You go to Burbank Sports Cards, which is the West Coast National, in my opinion. Unbelievable the amount of people that have come through. And as you talk to people, the need for technology, the need for innovation, there's so many aspects to our market. There's the collectors, there's the investor, there's the people trying to flip stuff. All of those require technology and our products. So it's really exciting. We've seen sales dramatically increase from when we started this venture 2 years ago. This year's going strong. We're hitting all of our goals, but more importantly, we're making an impact. So, when you talk to the collectors, and when you talk everything from a guy looking to scan his inherited collection in a garage to these large organizations, we just yesterday sold scanners to the NBA. So the NBA in their mailroom, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. We got to go into the NBA and show them our products. So, from the small collectors to the large collectors to the enthusiasts, we're all making that impact. And you can see that as you do these trade shows and the online events. I mean, LeBron James is now part of Fanatics, right? They announced that yesterday. How cool is that going to be? You'll have a chance to maybe pull a card and meet your player or something like that. I mean, Fanatics, what they're doing in the marketplace has been needed since I was a kid. And I think we're going to start seeing the benefits of that real soon.
Yeah, and I think they're also really focused on expanding who is a collector, what that
Mhm.
experience looks like, and that that can only help the hobby, right? I
Yep.
think I think there's a lot of anxiety about prices, which has come off of the highs during the pandemic, but
Yeah,
ultimately I see that as a good thing. I
for
mean,
sure.
that really is opportunity for collectors, for businesses to start to really differentiate themselves by making smart choices about sourcing, about pricing, about sales, about channels, all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
um,
Well, you
it
you all
certainly.
you definitely get to see a huge client base, right? Like, the unique thing that I saw about Magpie right off the bat is your guys's customer base expands to all over the globe. Talk a little bit about the Cherry Collectibles situation, because I think it's unique, and I think our customers will enjoy this.
Yeah, that's right. That's how you and I, after obviously the shows, first started working together. So,
Yep,
well, before I jump into Cherry, and I'm excited to talk about them, but I think it's like just give you a little bit of background on Magpie because it
absolutely.
kind of gives a little bit of context. I can't tell you how many people who aren't from the West Coast are like, "What's a magpie?" So, for those of you who don't know, magpies are super intelligent birds that are known for collecting bright, shiny objects. And I have been a collector since I was a kid. I was super into Sports Illustrated for kids cards when I was little. I was a gymnast and then a diver. And so, for any of you millennials who remember SI for Kids, in the back of the magazine, there was a like purple perforated sheet that had all sorts of different athletes. It had swimmers, gymnasts, ice skaters. And for me, that was amazing.
Mhm.
And a couple of years ago, back in 2019, my dad turned 80, and he's a lifelong collector of stamps, coins, and Brooklyn Dodgers baseball cards. And unfortunately, about 15 years ago, he lost his vision. So when he turned 80, he was all about like putting all of his affairs in order. And because of my like love of SI for Kids cards, that was a passion that we had always bonded over. And so I started helping him try to make sense of what he had and what they were worth and where to try to sell them and what to do with them. Um, And, my background is as a product executive at a technology company at IBM. So I'd, been building software to solve all sorts of different problems for a long time. And I couldn't believe how hard it was. Was good but small, and even still it took hours and hours of time. And as I just started looking at this, I was like, wow, there are so many people like my dad, like me, trying to make sense of what they have and what it's worth. I see James in the comments mentioned, he's trying to figure out what to do with his collection of 150,000 cards. And
Yeah.
one of the biggest bottlenecks for everyone is the fun part of collecting is going out and finding them, building your set, the
Hmm.
organization, the inventory management, the tracking. None of that is easy, and none of that is really fun. It's great to see the output, but um and so as I kept digging on Magpie, I realized that professional sellers and dealers have all the same problems and challenges that I was experiencing with my dad, but at much bigger scale. They are getting new allocation, new product every week. They have to sell it very quickly, or else the value often goes down in the short term. They're buying collections from their customers. Someone like a James might bring 150,000 cards to their local card shop, and that card shop then has to process them and figure out what to
Yeah.
do with them.
Hmm.
And so that's how we started building Magpie, was to build the software and services that make it easy for professional sellers to spend much less time on the manual sorting, organizing, data entry, and much more on the areas where they can add a lot of value, which is education, community building, actually kind of growing their stores and growing their footprint. So that's a little background on Magpie. And it's true, about, I guess, a year and a half or so ago, one of our customers, Cherry Collectibles, which is based in Melbourne, Australia, they are, I think, by far the largest collectible store in trading cards, but a very large business both in sports as well as trading card games. And they just had a warehouse full of singles, graded singles, raw cards. And, they knew sort of at a high level what categories they had, what eras they had, but they didn't have any sort of detailed list of what was in the inventory, what they had paid. And all of that was just basically dead inventory that was, sitting in their warehouse. And
Hmm.
their team, they have a huge team. They have but there's so much for them to do as they continue to grow and build their business. And this was something where, and so one of the things that Grayson, who's the founder of Cherry, and I think he had been talking with you, Don. Is that right?
Yeah, we had traded some emails because of the time difference, but yeah, we've been chatting as well.
Yeah, and so he was trying to think about, how do I handle all of this inventory and
Hmm.
start to get a better sense of what I've got. And so, we were talking about doing the white glove service, which is Magpie service, where we literally will show up at your store, your warehouse, your home, if that's what you want, and help you organize, sort, and scan all of your cards. Um, and most of what we do, we use the FI 8170,
Hmm.
which is really great for processing high volume of cards.
Right.
The image quality is fantastic. You've got the auto loader. You can load things with penny sleeves. Um, but Grayson came to us and was like, yeah, that's helpful, but I also need to be able to scan graded cards.
Yeah.
Of cards that he had were slabs. And so we then ended up working with Rico to get him an FI 8250. And
Right.
Don, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I
Yeah.
know you know a lot
Yeah.
more
No,
about that
you
than
I love where you're going with this. One of the areas that we do a really good job in, and I think, what's being seen on the market is everybody's going after selling these high-end cards, which is great, and they're the best bang for the buck. But these lower end dollar cards are where so many of our like customers are taking advantage and making a ton of money every day on it. And the 82, so our imaging technology, the FI 8170 is great for, like you said, the raw cards and penny sleeves, top loaders, card saver twos. But when someone wants to scan something that's a little larger, or maybe you want to put the chrome cards inside of a protector and you don't want to put them through a feeder or what have you, or an encased card of some kind, the 8250 is a great solution because it has the feeder of the 8170 attached to the flatbed. You can scan 4 PSA, Beckett, pick your manufacturer type of cards on there, and your guys' software separates those cards out, so you're able to get those images one at a time in a very nice format. We also have other technology. If you're looking for outside of a flatbed, there's a scanner called the SV600, which is a overhead projector type of scanner, and that scans multiple cards at one time without touching. So our technology is able to, unfortunately at this point in time, the technology is not there to scan a graded card through a feeder. It's maybe at some point in time we'll get there, but today the 8250 is a great solution for that.
Well, and the other thing that we do a lot with our white glove clients, particularly collectors, but also stores, is that while they might major in, I always joke that collectors have majors and minors, right? Like, you might major in vintage baseball, but you probably minor in something else, whether it be, other sports cards, whether it be comic books, historical documents, or, any sort of other thing. And so, part of what Magpie does with our white glove service is we will image or scan any of the collectibles that a user might have. And so, we've had collectors that have had historical documents where it's really important to be able to see those. We've seen comic books. So I think
so many of the collectors have a full-time job, like, you and I, right? And in those full-time jobs, our scanners at heart are paper-based scanners. So there actually isn't a trading card scanner on the market, period. We've just adapted some settings changes to make sure that the experience for our customers is beneficial. So you're right to your point. A lot of for the professional sellers out there who are looking just at one area, if you open things up and you look at what else are you doing? Are you a tax accountant? We can come and scan your cards, and then you can scan all your receipts for taxes, right? When you're done, there's so many different things that you can do on top of just cards. Some of the products do really well with 8x10 autographs. You do really well with, obviously at some point I wanted to talk to you about the gaming card aspect of it, because you guys do really, really well on the gaming card side. And the connectors and all of that you guys have is very unique, I think. But yeah, so I guess maybe talk about a little bit, like, how did you guys get into that and do so well?
100%. So we have, it's crazy. There are 60 million monthly Pokemon players. Like,
oh, wow.
if you're not in that gaming space, it can be almost hard to imagine just how large those communities are. And what's also really interesting about the trading card games is that because there is a game that's tied to it, that's actively associated, people are much more often actually using the cards, building decks, playing games. And so there's a lot more almost like active use and handling of the cards. So, and singles become really important because they have a certain number of points or tools or energy or a whole variety of things.
I'm still trying to learn it all. It's so difficult.
Well, and I think what's amazing is that there's so many different trading card games that appeal to lots of different demographics. So
Yeah,
obviously Pokemon is probably the granddaddy of them all, but MTG, Magic the Gathering, for those who are
yeah,
not TCG fans, is another one that's been around for decades and has a real cult following. But even we're seeing, more recent games like Flesh and Blood, One Piece, and just
Lorcana,
last
the whole
year, or
Disney.
I was going to
Yeah,
say Disney released Lorcana, so that starts to bring in whole new audiences of collectors and gamers who are looking for ways to engage. And I think the other thing that we're really seeing is that game stores, particularly games that have, sorry, like, hobby shops that
sure.
sell Pokemon, Magic, are creating physical spaces to be able to play those games. It actually brings the
Yeah,
customers into the store, it creates community, it creates really sticky retention. And
yeah.
so in order to have a compelling kind of offering, a lot of these stores have set up singles bars, and they need a way to be able to track and manage all of their inventory. And as we talked
It's
about
interesting.
before,
It's
yeah,
interesting where I last lived. There was a local store that opened up. It was a TCG place, and you're right. It's an enormous area for people to sit down. And then they had a bar, and it was like one of the
yep,
more interesting things. You're like, okay, so most of the target audience is mostly kids, but I was totally wrong. I hung out there for like 2 hours, and all that were older, non-kids that came through, I guess is the right word. And it was kind of cool to see that environment. Again, it goes back to what you initially said right when we started this call, is the experience. I think 2024 is the year of the experience, the year of technology and the experience in the hobby. And we're a piece of all of that. But what people are doing on the opposite end is amazing. Um,
yeah, a hundred
so
percent. And I think anyone who's been to a sports card store, just the experience I've witnessed countless times is, the parents bring in like the 10-year-old little boys and their little sisters,
mhm,
and
yep,
they want the Pokemon or they want to play with this. The parents are interested in different types of products, and that helps to further expand and grow. And so for store owners, they need to make sure that they have the right products to sell to their audiences. Many of our sports cards clients come to us because they're like, I got sports cards covered. I understand how this works, but I'm new to the TCG and gaming side and I need help. I don't necessarily recognize, every single card, the set, the points, all of those pieces. So that's been really exciting to be able to help them and show them how they can grow their business through kind of additional product lines.
yeah. It's one of the things that I think that is needed is for, especially for people like me. I want to get into the gaming card and just understand it. Like, anytime someone walks up to you at a booth or at a show and they're like, well, can this scan my Charizard 1, 2, 3, 4? I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about, but let's try it. I wish there was a better way for people to get educated on some of these gaming, because it seems rather complicated to a simple guy like me. But but and I don't know. It's to me, it's being able to be like that trusted advisor, right? You guys do a really good job of knowing the market and talking to people. You follow Catherine on her Instagram page. She's always posting videos talking to people, and they're really nice to get more education in the market and get to know people. But being that trusted advisor, I think, is something that is really unique and important to what you guys do and what we try to do as well. And part of that is the service that we provide people, both you guys and us. You guys are so easy to work for. Every time I had a question or need some help, you guys got people that respond right away. How important is that infrastructure of support with what we're doing together?
Well, I can send that right back at you because I remember being in Melbourne, scanning cards, setting up the scanner, scanning cards, and
Yeah.
we were scanning a lot of hollow cards on the 8250 and having to work through different setting types, etc. Because particularly with trading card games, you have different different hollows that have
Hmm.
varying levels of complexity to pick up by scanners. I think the Rico scanners do among the best job on the market. Now, obviously, there are always like some of the oil slick cards that are all black are just incredibly
Yeah.
hard for any
Right.
imaging technology. So I think, and I would say, I'll say this based on my experience working with you, and I think that this is the same for our customers, is that having someone you can call when you have a problem, when there's a question, when there's something that you need to understand or learn about technology is critical. I've
Yeah.
walked into so many stores where maybe they have an old scanner or they have a POS system, but they're not actually using it in a way that improves their business, that saves their employees time, that makes them more money. And I think I feel in the industry, there's a little bit of anxiety about technology. Everybody
Yeah.
knows they need it. They
Yep.
really want it to help them, but it feels like just one more thing that they have to figure out and manage.
Right.
And so part of the way that we've built Magpie is around kind of these two prongs. There's the technology and the software, which is great and can help you to automate. And we'll walk through it a little bit later and show you all of the cool features. But at the same time, if you're stuck with something or you're learning something new and you need somebody to help you make some decisions, um, you've got someone that you can
Got
call. You've
somebody
got
there.
someone
Yeah, like
exactly.
that, and that's what's important. Like you're a passionate collector, you know about the market. Someone can ask for, what's the Brooklyn Dodgers of 19, I don't know what year they stopped being Brooklyn, but call it 1949, and you'll know, right? And I think that's what separates, and that's why, especially in my side, the hardware side, our competitors can't get any traction because they don't have anybody who knows the hobby, who can speak the
Right.
lingo. And you guys, when there is an issue, you guys are able to not only talk the lingo, you're able to show the software and ease people into it. And that's part of it is I know technology can be quite cumbersome nowadays. And I think what we've all focused on is trying to make things very simple and easy to use. Your platform is real simple to use, and for everybody on the call, we're going to do a demo here pretty soon, so that you can see that software and see how it works. I know there's a lot of talk right now going on in the chatter bot in the box. Like what scanners would I recommend? I always say everybody should start off with the FI 8170. That is the number one product on the market. About 99% of all sales right now is that product. There are versions of it that have added on features, like Catherine talked about the 8250, and again, simple ease of use. You plug it in and you're ready to scan. You use their software and you're ready to go to the inventory and you can run analytics and you can see everything that's going on. And if you need an expert, Catherine can pick up the phone and help you out, at any time. So I think that's what's unique. You guys are very lucky to have a great staff and a great support system that allows you guys to, grow, I think.
Totally. By the way, the Dodgers moved to LA, I think for their 1958 season. It's
Ah,
like the
49
moment
wasn't
my
bad.
no, yeah, it's the moment that my father like will never forgive the Dodgers. Like it was the
Ah,
end of
well,
kind of think it was the end of his youth when that happened. But anyway.
there's a lot of reasons right now to not forgive the Dodgers. What they're doing right now is bad for baseball. I'm gonna say it. I'm a Giants fan, so it's the Otani thing to me was not a happy day. But but anyways, I think so we spent a lot of time talking about the demo. Maybe now this is a good transition to take a look at the software.
That sounds great. So let me pull this up. Let's make sure
So
I see this okay.
it's starting to come up. Yes, we can see it pretty well.
Perfect. So at Magpie, because we're working with dealers and stores that have to process very large inventories on a very frequent basis, we're doing everything we can to automate pulling that inventory in so that you only have to touch cards when it's really essential. So if you're sourcing them from eBay or PWCC's weekly auctions, or if you have a spreadsheet or you have photos, we're trying to give you as many different options to pull in that inventory in an automated way as possible. Because if you can just have to focus on, the collection that you've just bought from a customer, or, what's left over from a break, that's going to save you a lot of time. And so this is really, I think, where our approach is very, very different, is that we see this as your operating control center for everything that you're doing. And as we talk to customers, they spend so much time trying to do this across so many different platforms. So this is a couple of different examples of different platforms where you can pull inventory in from. I'm going to show you eBay because this is probably the most universal platform that everybody uses, though I know that there are tons of different integrations. You can connect with eBay, and then we will actually pull in your inventory. So here you can see eBay is connected. And this is awesome because once you start to use your Ricoh scanner to upload photos and images of your cards, then you can immediately start to push them to the different sales channels. And what we've heard stores and sellers is that they only sell on eBay, or they only sell on eBay and their website because it's too much work to try and manage inventory across all these different channels. They have to make sure that they don't double sell, otherwise they get in trouble. They don't want unhappy customers. And by having a single place where you can see all of your inventory, where it is for sale, how much you paid for it, what it's worth, you start to have a much better view, and you get a lot more opportunities with your business. So since this is the Ricoh webinar, we're now going to look at photo upload. So basically we make it really easy to upload photos, either front only or front and back. We generally recommend that you can do front only for cards under $20, or obviously trading card games where they all have the same back. For higher end or specialty sports cards, we tend to recommend doing the front and the back. That's particularly important if you're selling on platforms like eBay, where they need a couple of different images. But that question depends on what you're trying to do. So we're going to pull up front and back. And then what you're going to do is you're going to see this screen. There's basically 3 steps. I'm over here on my laptop pulling a couple of images that I've preset. And then what we're going to do here, you can see that we're going to drag it in to our platform, and then it's going to start to process them. So we do use AI recognition to identify the cards. We do this principally for TCG and graded cards. You can upload raw sports cards, although the process takes a little bit longer and is a bit more manual. But as you see, it will start to upload. I've just done 12. And then what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to review the cards front and back, as well as the name that they've been identified with, and make sure that you're generally happy with all of those. And then you can start to sell. So this is, now you can start to see your inventory. So I saw a question about, you want to be able to upload all of your inventory, but not necessarily sell it right away. And that's exactly what Magpie was designed for. So as you can see here, we've pulled in those images and some assets from eBay. And there's a couple of key things that you can then do with that inventory. So obviously you can adjust the name if that's what you're looking for. You can look at the card, so you can make sure you can go into the details and provide a condition if that's something that you want to do for raw cards. You can also indicate the cost that you paid for it, if that's something that you are doing on a cost accounting basis. We know that Different stores and dealers do it differently. Sometimes you have a very clear cost of goods for each individual card. Sometimes you buy a lot and you knew that, there were 5 or 6 big cards and the rest you're kind of amortizing the price against. We give you the freedom to do that if you want. If you don't want to do it, not a big deal. It's not required. But let me tell you, you will spend a lot less time with your accountant if you start tracking all of this at a much better level. And then you can add in the sale price. We also have a partnership with 130 Point where we provide a link to their last prices so that you can get a sense of what was the last transaction that happened in the market, which is really important for most sellers, because when you think about what's fascinating, we've worked with dozens and dozens of different stores, different sellers, collectors. I have yet to see a universal or single process for pricing things. Obviously, everybody looks at eBay, people look at the auction houses. There's great tools out there. There's Wax Stat for wax. There's companies like Market Movers or Card Ladder, and obviously 130 Point for singles. But each person takes that information and makes a different set of determinations. So rather than trying to tell you what the sale price is, we give you the opportunity just to go ahead and enter that. And you can do this in bulk. So you can add lots of prices all at once. So as you can see, this is currently our unlisted inventory. And then we can decide that what do we want to sell? And then we can move ahead to sell it. And what this will then allow us to do is pick, based on the channels that we've integrated, where do we want to sell it? And then you can also set different prices depending on the channel, because obviously eBay has a whole set of fees that happen for different sellers versus if you're selling on your own website where you're just paying for payment processing. And so everyone, again,
Catherine,
go ahead.
Catherine, there's no fee to this, right? On your guys' side, because you're paying for the subscription offering to your software. And is it by a number of scans, or how does the pricing model work? Am I just jumping too far ahead right now?
No, this is great. You're jumping, but I'm happy to do that. So I guess to answer your question, there's 3 pieces of it. Number 1, we have a tiered monthly subscription, which starts with a free plan. So you can list up to 250 items for free on one channel. So generally that's eBay. And that's a great option for collectors or very casual sellers. And then we have a basic, a pro, and an enterprise plan. And the pricing ranges from $49 all the way up, depending. And that software, I can send a link to our pricing page later, but it varies according to 3 things. Number 1 is the number of integrations that you want to do. So how many different channels do you want this data to be on? As you can imagine, with each additional channel, it adds significant complexity, and making sure that you get it right is really, really important. So that's first. The second is the number of AI scans. So we actually don't limit you in terms of the number of inventory pieces. Like you could put 10 million cards on here, no problem with that. But for the AI imaging, there are kind of thresholds for each of the plans, depending on which plan you're at. And the third piece is around the number of users and locations that you're supporting. So obviously, if you're a chain of stores with multiple locations and dozens of employees, you have a more complex and customized plan than on the earlier side. The other thing is there's no additional fee for listing. We don't charge you to push through to eBay or Shopify. I know there are some platforms that do that, but we just want to make it as easy as possible for you to sell your products wherever you want. Obviously, there's certain nuances, like PWCC, you have to vault your cards. So that becomes a more manual process. We basically add it to PWCC in your inventory, and then you are responsible, obviously, for shipping them out and those kinds of things. We also provide on our higher plans support for live shopping. So there's a lot of customers that are starting to do multi-hour live streams on platforms like Whatnot, Loop, Drip Shop, Fanatics Live. And 6, 7 months ago, they would just have like lot one, lot two, lot three. And then at the end of their live stream, they would have been talking for hours on Zoom or video, and then they'd have to be like, oh yeah, what was in lot one, who's that going to, and it would be really hard to get good data. And so what we're able to do with our live shopping partners is pre-upload inventory so that people can see what you're selling before you actually get on and sell it. And for those live shopping platforms that offer static stores, that becomes yet another channel. So yeah, our goal is really to be the automation and simplification hub for any business in this space. So but yeah, you can push through to eBay. We're going to use those default settings, and then you'll start to see here you can track what channel are things for sale on, what is its current sale price listed at, etc. And we
That's
have
great. If you have it on multiple platforms and one of them sell, it'll remove it from all the platforms right away, right?
Exactly.
Perfect.
Correct. Yep. And you can, these are single quantities, but particularly with raw cards, if you have 50 of a specific card, you can also track that. You can track location, etc. So there is just a lot of the core basic data that you need to run your business that we centralize, and we pull in the different partners and tools that most of our customers are using, Ricoh scanners being a really important one of them, just to simplify the amount of time dealing with kind of the painful manual data entry parts of the business.
Yeah, and setup seems to be really easy. I mean, the download of or the integration in the software once you buy your license is pretty quick. You're up and running right away, it seems like. So, well, great. The software looks amazing. I'm looking at our chat box, and you're getting a ton of questions right now in the chat box, so which is great. But before we jump into the questions, again, a reminder that this will be this whole session is recorded. It will be up on our website probably in the next couple days. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Catherine or myself. We'll provide our information at the end of the webinar. But I think that one of the things that's great about this is we're both able to offer you guys something for coming on to this webinar. I have what's called show discounts for scanners. If there's any type of need for a scanner, you can purchase the software and the hardware together through Catherine and Magpie, and we'll be able to make sure that you guys get special pricing on that. And Catherine, you guys are offering something great on the software side as well on top of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone that is buying one of our paid plans, you'll get an extra free month for coming in through the webinar. We'll send out a promo code after this because I don't want it to be displayed on the internet forever. But that will give you an additional free month of using the service. And I think that also, the best part, one of the best parts of our paid plans is just having a dedicated account manager who can help you with a whole host of different things.
It is. So. You guys will find that working with all parties is going to be very simple if you want to go down this, and the support behind that. Once you buy the product, we don't just say see you later. Both sides have tech support that can walk you through every step of the way and make sure that you have an optimal experience. So, let's see, we've talked about the past, we've talked about the future, we've talked about the products. How about we jump into the Q&A session? How does that sound?
So that sounds fabulous.
Mr. James Hoffman, we see all your posts, and I think it looks like you've got some interesting things going on here, and we'll both make an effort to reach out to you after the event and see if there's something we can work together with. There is, by the way, I know in one of the posts that you asked, is there a riser to the scanners and a bin? Absolutely, yes. We've worked with a company called Laskus Innovations. And if you go to our website, there's a link to his his site where you can purchase risers and catchers. So it'll raise up the scanner. So when the cards come out, they safely go into a bin. It's pretty cool. And they're relatively inexpensive. I think he charges somewhere between $15 to $20 for those. And also has an eBay store. So we definitely can provide links to that after the show. Let's see, James, let's see if there's anything else here. You work for a nonprofit. We definitely want to work with you guys and see if there's something we can help you out with. John Bruce, Catherine, I will book a call after this webinar to work on inventory management. Excellent, John. We look forward to that. I buy and sell gaming cards. I need to be able to scan a collection from a seller to determine a purchase price, but not put it on inventory until after the purchase. Will Magpie do this?
Hey, Terry, it's great to hear from you. Thanks so much for joining.
You're welcome.
Oh, sorry, my Siri has decided to start talking. Hopefully you saw from the demo that that's exactly what you do. You add all of your items into inventory, and then you can decide where you want to list them. I realized you also asked about more integrations coming for the game card world, and that is one of our top priorities. I know TCG Player in particular is important, and we do have a partnership with TCG Player, and we are working on it. I was talking to our head of engineering last night to have a more specific answer on that. And I'm afraid we're still working on it, but hopefully by the end of Q1. One of the things that I didn't show today, but we can talk about at a later date, is we make it easy for you to generate spreadsheets that can then be easily uploaded to platforms where we might not have a direct integration. Obviously, our ability to connect different ecosystems depends on whether or not they create APIs, documentation, a whole bunch of things, that are beyond our control. So for those sites that we're not, directly able to connect and sync with right now, we've been building out a library of spreadsheet templates that are used for uploads. So there's other marketplaces, particularly like, I love buysportscards.com, if that's one that people see in the sports card space. TCG Player is obviously critical, and there's a few others in the card space. We also, because we're committed to covering a variety of collectibles, are working on partnerships with other marketplaces, even beyond the, the trading card world. So like Hip Comic and others like that. And you would be surprised what you can sell and what you can buy on platforms like even the Real, Mercari. I mean, almost every marketplace sees that trading cards and collectibles are an important and growing segment. And so, anyway, that's just a sort of side plug, but I think that there are lots of opportunities for good buys and good deals that you might not find when you're looking at the initial kind of just even.
Yeah.
So
just even, right? That's a good point. Second question, Don. I love my 8170 from John Bruce. Thank you. Been scanning some Chrome cards with excellent images. What should I do to keep everything clean? Scanners are machines, right? And machines get dirty. So I would always encourage our customers to keep a cover over the scanners. We actually sell a bag that's relatively inexpensive that I keep my scanner in. And it keeps it clean from dust and anything else that's floating around in whatever environment you have. But we also sell cleaning kits. So if you go to our web store or you go to Amazon or some of these selling sites where you can buy them, it's a real simple cloth and liquid that you can use to clean out the inside of your scanners to make sure everything flows properly. And you'll continue to get those great images from those Chrome cards. One thing to add is there is special Chrome settings. If you go to our trading card website, scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see all of the different the settings that you can use to optimize your imaging experience. Those reflective cards are always somewhat difficult, though. If a card's reflective or it's transparent, it's two cameras side by side, right? You have to turn the settings on without manipulating the image to get the best image on the selling sites. Another question from John Bruce. Can you scan penny sleeves? Yes and no. So penny sleeves are interesting, right? By themselves, they're not made to be scanned through a scanner. However, there are some people who have removed the front rollers from the scanner. And what it does is it doesn't create the torque of pulling the penny sleeves, and it allows the penny sleeves to kind of slide on through without being pulled through. You know, I think if you were to go look on our website, we actually don't recommend scanning penny sleeves. However, a lot of people have found that it can be done by just removing that front roller. Let's see, what else do we got here? What scanner should I purchase that allows me to scan cards, stamps, businesses? Again, the 8170. The FI 8170 is a monster. You know, the scanner is by far the best in the market. It's got the best feeder. It's the best imaging technology. It can scan all of those. Stamps would be a little bit difficult because they're so small. You're going to have to put them in something to get them through the feeder. Otherwise, the imaging sensors may not pick it up. But business receipts, paper, photographs, I think we talked about this earlier with Catherine. That scanner can pretty much scan anything. Let's see, what else do we got here? Catherine from John Bruce. I'm one of the individuals that have stamped comic books, postcards, and for then 100,000 trading cards. I think he's asking if it can, you know, you guys can handle all types of images. I think is what he's asking.
Great question. So we do not yet have image recognition for all of those categories. However, we do have the ability to, you could upload a spreadsheet with names or product details. We have partnerships with companies, particularly in the comic book space. And we're looking for partners in stamps. Postcards can be a bit more challenging because they don't tend to be quite as standardized. But what's great is that you can upload the images, you can add the details. And what's interesting is we find a number of our individual collector customers will use the software almost as a repository of their memories about specific items. So whether it's a photograph that was taken at a certain place, or they want to keep the details of the story of where they got a card, or, you know, just really kind of keep the details. The software can be used in that way as well, even if you're not looking necessarily to sell the products. So
you guys are keeping memories alive, you know, being able to share where you're buying them and what you bought them for. That's really cool. That's different.
Yeah, we think it's really important to help dealers, collectors just increase their so much. I can't tell you how many stores I've walked into where, you know, the owner of the store says, "Don't worry, I've got it all up here in my head." And then I say, "I'm sure you do, but what happens if you get hit by a bus tomorrow? What's your wife gonna do?" And they sort of chuckle, and then they're like, "Tell me more." Not to make it morbid, but that's reality. So.
Yeah, it is. I can't remember what I did yesterday most days. So people with great memories are special. What about Cardbase? Are you guys partners with Cardbase at all? I'm not familiar with them.
No, I know Cardbase well. I think they are fantastic. We're not directly integrated with them yet, but they are a partner that we have had conversations with, and always just really looking to integrate the partners that collectors and the market find the most valuable and need. So that's a great plug for Cardbase, and good reminder to us to continue those conversations.
So Brad Denenberg asks, how accurate is your AI card identification? Can you differentiate between color variations on modern cards yet?
So we're kind of, so I would say number one, graded cards we're excellent at. Obviously we have integrations with Beckett, with SGC, and with PSA so that we can read the cert numbers and pull in all of the standardized data, which is huge. On trading card games, we're also excellent, north of 95%. We recognize hollows. There are always still errors, like whether it's from the scan itself, the AI. Part of what we offer that I don't think anyone else offers is at the higher plans, we have what we call a manual quality assurance process. So we will give you the card plus some options if we're not, if there are other things that have come up. And we work with partners to do that. And if you if you want, we will have a team that will actually go through and make updates and corrections. That helps to improve, obviously, our technology, and it makes sure that you have the right cards. So I think it is really important to say, though, that there are lots of amazing AI recognition platforms in the world and on the market, but
Yes.
nobody is perfect
Nobody's
yet.
perfect. Absolutely not. And I don't know if they'll ever be, right? Like there's an aspect to machine learning that the name machine learning means it's always constantly learning. So, it's how you deal with those that don't come up, and you guys have a great process to make sure that, if something doesn't come up, you can get it registered and it can learn it eventually and add it to its database. Let's see. I know we all talk about the 8170, but for someone that's starting out, it's expensive. But what is there a need or another scanner that you would recommend on the cheaper side? So yes, we do offer a number of scanners, but if you go down in value, you lose functionality and features. So it really depends on what you're doing. If you're looking for the whole gamut of scanning, the 8170 is nothing better. And the ROI, what we're hearing from our customers, is about a month and a half on the 8170, meaning you buy $1,000 product, you will make that back in sales immediately because you're scanning and inventorying and putting on eBay so many more cards than what you would do with your phone or any other device. But yes, there is other options. Reach out to me and I'll provide those other options to you. We have about 5 or 6 scanners that we can recommend. But what I always do is I always equate it to eating steak. Like, Denny's has steak and it's Denny's. The steak is going to be Denny's, right? But if you want to have that full experience, you're going to go to a Ruth Chris, you're going to go to some higher end steakhouse. And that is what the market is asking for, actually, is they don't want to risk your cards getting damaged or not being recognized or a poor image or a double feed. And that's what you get with the 8170. You get utter perfection almost most of the time. So we have about 3 minutes. If we didn't get to your questions, we apologize. Feel free to reach out to us. We will be sending an email thanking everybody for attending the webinar with the offerings that both Catherine has and we have. Not only that, this will be recorded again one more time. It'll be recorded, and it is recorded, and we will be posting it on our website for everybody to download and view afterwards. But Catherine, thank you so much for taking the time out of the day, and thanks for being such a great partner. You guys again have been wonderful to work with. Where can we see you next? What shows are you going to be traveling around here pretty soon?
Yes, this is going to be once again another hectic year. I think what's different is we don't tend to set up at shows because we work with dealers. We don't want to distract them. We like to see what they're doing and hear what collectors are saying and seeing. There's a couple shows that are coming up that we're really excited about. Culture Collision, first and foremost. And then there's obviously the Dallas show and Burbank. It's interesting. Our marquee show used to be Mint Collective, although it doesn't seem like that show is going to happen this year.
Yeah, it's too bad.
So we'll have to see what comes up. But we're always at the national. We attend lots of local shows. Our team is all over both the U.S. and Europe. So we are excited about meeting collectors and dealers in person. What about you, Don?
So we are scheduled to have a booth in Burbank, February 15th through the 18th, I believe is the show, out in Ontario. So the Burbank Card Show in Ontario. They have an airport. It's smaller, but it's a really nice venue to me. Of the 3 different venues they had, that was kind of the one where it felt like a card show. It was like, whereas Anaheim was like a big event. You're next to Disney World or Disneyland and all this stuff that can distract you. Ontario was a great size. And so we're going to have a booth there. And of course, we'll probably be at the National, and we're looking for other shows and probably, other ways to do things, maybe using webinars or what have you. We're always on, some of the, I think there's a lot of people who are becoming like celebrities in our market, like the Great Curator and FD and all these guys. They have all these podcasts. We'll try to be on some of those as well. But looks like we're right at the time right now. So again, I want to thank Catherine. At the end of this, we'll send out an email with all of our information. Feel free to reach out to any of us. We'll be happy to help you, and best wishes in the near future for you, Catherine.
Absolutely. Check us out, magpiecollectibles.com. We're Magpie Hobby on Instagram, on X, formerly known as Twitter, Threads. And if you're interested in the business of the hobby, I write at least one post a week on LinkedIn. So please connect on LinkedIn.
Oh,
I think that's an interesting space to think about, really how do you run a business in the space. So.
Yep. Great. Thank you. And for us, you can find us on Rico's Scanner Trading Cards website. If you just Google that, it'll come up. You'll go right to our website where there's going to be videos and information about our partners and helpful hints. So if you need to reach out, my number is always available. It's 408-746-7006. Feel free to reach out. But again, thank you very much, Catherine, and we'll see you at the next event.
Sounds good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you all. Thank you. Take care.